We have the live button, so I guess we're good to go. Well, everybody, welcome back to the Feed Me Sports podcast. We're experiencing with new technology because Alec is MIA, our usual host, and Mike is going to see a Disney Pixar movie with his girlfriend, so he chose to be whipped instead of me, Alexander Birch, and Louis Schaefer. We got a packed show tonight, so we'll kick off quick.
I just want to say real quick, Birch. For once, we're a two-man band, but it's me and you, not you and Alex. So.
It is, and that's a very different dynamic for everybody who listens to the show. Louis and I, it's a whole new world if we're going to spin it Disney.
So we're going to stick to Disney.
So. Real quick, we'll start off with Money in the Bank. Louis, I'm going to start right away. Your reactions on Carmella taking the first ever Women in the Bank ladder match. However, it wasn't Carmella who took the briefcase. It was none other than the chinless wonder, Mr. James Ellsworth, taking the case for Carmella. What do you think about this?
I mean, it's a shame Mike's upstairs and he won't come down. But I called this a month ago when they said that they were going to have a women's Money in the Bank match. I called it. I said, Ellsworth's grabbing that freaking thing. There's something up with him being there's a reason Carmella still has him. He's doing something. And sure enough, he did. I'm not a fan of it, of the sense of, they built it up to be this history-making moment. We had the Hell in the Cell. We've had, the Fatal 4-Way at this year's WrestleMania, the Triple Threat at WrestleMania 32. And they've kind of really built up all these historic moments. And obviously, Sasha and Charlotte main eventing Raw for the first time since Lita and Trish did it, stuff like that. But when I look at it, I mean, is it great for the women's evolution? No. They should have, you should have been able to have the moment of Charlotte or Becky or hell, even Carmella going up and getting the case themselves. But as far as storyline wise, I love this because I can't stand Ellsworth because of who he made his name off of feuding with. But I mean, I saw this coming from a mile away, and when it happened, I couldn't control my excitement.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely took me by surprise, and I'll agree with you that the storyline of it it's just hysterical because it's like now the entire women's division at SmackDown is imploded, calling that this is just treason to wrestling, that Ellsworth. Yeah, but the funny part is, I think for me was I'm watching it and I'm like, what the hell just happened? And then Tom Phillips is arguing, well, this is terrible, this is awful. Then you get JBL going, well, there's no rules. It's no DQ, damn it. So, yeah, from a story standpoint, I think it definitely makes the women's division a lot more interesting going forward. So moving on to the tag team match, I was a little disappointed with because I hate these countouts and I hate a non-conclusive winner. The Usos retain, but the New Day is back on SmackDown. Does the countout help the Usos? Does it not do anything? Does it hurt New Day? Does it help New Day? What do you think?
I think there's no hurting New Day at this point. I mean,
there's no hurting that green trumpet, man.
Oh yeah, no trombone. Get your brass instruments right.
My bad. My apologies, Xavier.
But I mean,
I was not a woodwind buddy.
But I mean, you look at it there's no hurting the New Day as far as booking wise. They're the strongest book tag team in the company. If anything, the countout gives them the technical win to start their, SmackDown Live run. I also like it because I think everybody kind of figured New Day's going to beat the Usos.
Yeah.
And their day one being H.
Yeah.
But I think nobody saw it coming of them getting counted out. I thought a lot of people thought that the New Day was just going to beat them clean because they're the New Day. So I like it as far as the New Day have been reinvigorated as faces since coming back on SmackDown. And I look at it, it really adds to the heel heat that the Usos have gotten. I mean, everybody kind of got behind the Fashion Police, and then they beat them. So, taking the count out against a team that, like I said, everybody's kind of back behind like they were at, the midway point of their record-breaking title reign. Everybody's kind of back behind them. So doing something like this just adds heel heat to the Usos, which their characters are heels, but they've really been lacking the heat since coming back as heels. Yeah. So I think it helps them out a lot more. And like I said, there's no hurting the New Day at this point.
Yeah, and I think, the Usos have been around for a while, and that was a group that needed something different. It was just one of those tag teams that, they kind of ran its course in WWE, and they went away for a while. Then coming back as heels, and like I said, I don't like these non-conclusive victories because it always is just like, well, this is typical WWE. Mm-hmm. They don't want to bury one person and make one person look stronger, vice versa. But I think it like you said, it adds to the Usos heel persona. And I think this is I don't think this is the last we're going to see of Usos and New Day. I think this is definitely something that's going to be come SummerSlam, maybe Night of Champions. I definitely think that's a good tag team battle they could have going.
Especially when you look at, real quick, just when you look at, obviously Battleground July 23rd in Philly, Cheap Pop.
In Philly.
But that, I think you may see something happen again there in terms of the Usos finding some way to retain.
Yeah.
And then obviously SummerSlam kind of being the pay-per-view where the New Day gets back on the map as champions. So.
Yep. So moving on, her first match in WWE, and she was the loving and wonderful, beautiful bodyguard, if you will, for Rusev. Lana has her first match. I got to be honest, I don't think she did great, but she wasn't bad. It was a good match for her. I think it was a great way to get her feet wet. I kind of was turned off, not from a perverted standpoint, more from like the wrestling standpoint of her constantly screaming. I just kind of think that took away from her character, I guess. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Lana killed it? Do you think maybe she definitely is going to need more matches?
Yeah, I think she's definitely going to need a little bit more work. You saw with Brie Bella. It helps when your husband is one of the better wrestlers in the company. Rusev's not the best character, although he's near and dear to my heart. Handsome Rusev.
They need to keep that going on SmackDown.
They need to keep that going, even though I'm sure, as we'll get to later, they may be dropping the big from the guy that he took Handsome from.
Yeah.
So, but she's gonna get better, I hope. Being on a show with, out of the four horsemen, probably the two better wrestlers out of the four in Becky and Charlotte. So she's gonna get to pick their brain, along with Natty being around. Not that Nikki's the best wrestler, but when Nikki eventually maybe comes back for, a SummerSlam or WrestleMania match, and obviously like the people that are on SmackDown. You look, Bryan, AJ Styles, KO, Sami Zayn. Like, there's just great wrestlers that she can kind of pick, talk to and pick the brain of along with her husband.
Right.
So,
I definitely think
I think she's only going to get better. She's attractive. Don't get me wrong. Like, that helps.
Beautiful.
That helps in my book. But granted, this was more like just me and you talking, back at the sales. But I love Eva Marie because you're supposed to hate her. I go to the show and cheer for all the bad guys. I liked Eva Marie. So, and I don't think she's ever coming back. So Lana kind of gives me that Eva Marie sense. So
I think rumor has it Eva Marie's she's done.
Well, yeah, I think they were pissed at her for like dyeing her hair or something.
And I kind of feel bad because I think there was a story. I remember telling you the story like a year or two ago that she got breast implants and she actually had like complications from it, which only prolonged. She had an injury and then she had that done. And then she had like a side effect to that. So it was like, this girl just can't catch a break. And then, you know, they kind of put her with Natalia off the scenes to, you know, work on her mic skills, work on her wrestling skills. And that looked like it was getting promising, but then it just took a nosedive. So, yeah, hopefully Lana can
do better than Eva.
Do better. Just do better than Eva.
Just the process.
So, the Maharaja, the modern day
Maharaja.
He retains. I got to be honest. I knew he was going to retain. I had the feeling. But are you shocked that he retained in St. Louis? Orton, he faced Randy Orton. Randy Orton's hometown is St. Louis. Are you shocked that Jinder beat him in his hometown? Especially seeing as Randy Orton's probably going to go down as one of the top 4 or 5 wrestlers of the last 15 years or so.
I was shocked. I felt like that could have played a factor, but they're back in St. Louis, you know, just as much as they're in Philly.
Screw that, by the way. Like, what's so special about St. Louis?
Yeah, they come to St. Louis like once every month and a half. Like it's just ridiculous.
It's like how they used to do like every single pay-per-view in Chicago.
Yeah. Like
every pay-per-view, I think in like 2015, there was like 4 pay-per-views in Chicago, and I'm like, we can't even get one Raw here. Like
because fuck you, Punk, that's why. But I mean, honestly, like they're in St. Louis all the time. You know, it's not like this was the last time Randy, you know, it's not like Randy books himself from Scranton and, you know, he goes there once every 3 years or 10 years. You know, they'll be back in St. Louis, you know, in a month or so, 2 months, 3 months. That's not his last match in St. Louis. I think it added to the shock factor to have him beat Randy in St. Louis and being able to book it that way in terms of, you know, Randy Orton's home. He's a legend, da-da-da-da.
The legend killer, mind you.
Legend killer. Even though talking about heel heat with the Usos, you want to talk about heel heat. The Singh brothers going legend killer on Cowboy Bob.
Yeah, that I don't know. I thought that was a little too much. I mean, poor Cowboy Bob. It's like he didn't.
Cowboy Bob doesn't deserve this.
No, he doesn't deserve that. But do you see? One quick question I'll ask: do you see Jinder holding this past SummerSlam? Because I think I've kind of wrestled with the idea that maybe they'll have him drop it and then he'll get it back at either SummerSlam, Night of Champions, and maybe carry it further. But I'm just gauging your idea on whether you think that he'll hold it or he'll drop it at some point.
Who, Jinder?
Yeah.
I can see him holding it for a bit. You know, they've kind of really bounced that belt around since the brand split. I mean, with the exception of Styles. You know, they could use a guy holding it for a little while.
I agree.
You know, I look at it. The only thing I don't want, like, you know, you want to have him lose to Owens. You want to have him lose to Zayn. I mean, Corbin's got the Money in the Bank. You want to have him lose to Corbin, fine. But I've seen this before a million times. Please don't squash him with Mr. America when he comes back.
Yeah, I know. I think that's that's the fear with a lot of people is that they're gonna and while the storyline in theory is great, you know, John Cena comes back on the 4th of July, he's Mr. America, you know, the Marine, whatever. I think it would almost be a slap in the face because, you know, we've talked about it so much on the show where WWE made, not that they really tried to use Jinder, but from a business standpoint, they did to tap into the Indian market, which was a market they've never really, well, I shouldn't say never really, they've never tapped into. And to kind of have, you know, Cena come back and just take it away from him, I think would just be like a slap in the face to Jinder and then their efforts in trying to tap into the market. So I definitely agree. I mean, you guys know me, you know, I love my Cena appearances every once in a while, but if this is a situation where he comes back and just takes the belt from Jinder right away, I think you've all but hurt your chances of ever tapping into the Indian market. And I think you've also hurt a guy who really has worked his ass off to get back into that main event picture.
Oh, yeah, and especially when you look at, I mean, the situation, too. If he takes the belt off Jinder, that's 17. if you're going to have him do that off of Jinder, I mean, granted, I love Jinder. I love what he's done since, cutting pizza out of his diet.
If that's what it takes.
I could never do that. That's true willpower.
It's impossible.
But, I mean, what he's been able to do, obviously, you've shit on the Indian market before with John Cena when you made Khali tap out to the STF.
Oh, man. Yep.
And then doubled up with Batista beating Khali in the Punjabi prison match.
Oh, man. I was actually just watching that the other day, too.
It's a great match. It's a great match.
It is.
Two cages. Yeah, cages made of bamboo.
if you're gonna have Cena win 17, I think it's got to be at WrestleMania, and that would ultimately.
It's got to be somewhere big, and it's got to be off of.
That's got to be. I mean,
granted, 16 was Styles, but it's got to be off Styles or Owens or.
It's got to be off a big.
Yeah, it can't be off Jinder. Yeah, it can't be off Jinder.
And I would think that would kind of be the swan song too. Like that. That's kind of the signal that. He's won 17. He has so much going on outside of WWE. It would be a way for him to, he breaks Ric Flair's record, goes down as the winningest WWE champion of all time, and good. Thank you, Cena. Yeah, thank you, Cena. Yep. So that'll wrap it up for WWE. We'll definitely get more into it.
I just wanna get into this real quick. Obviously, you don't know that much about indie stuff.
I've been trying.
Yeah. I just want to throw this out before Mike comes back next week and shits on it. I want to shit on it first. Mike Kanellis. His name's Mike Bennett.
I've heard
Look him up. He's awesome. He's not Maria has gone on the independent scene as Maria Kanellis Bennett. They're slapping in Cody Rhodes' face because Cody did the Cody and Brandy Rhodes because they couldn't use Cody Rhodes. So they are slapping in Cody's face by calling him Mike Kanellis.
Well, that's not nice.
And then real quick, again, while we're on WWE, another thing. You can turn your mic off if you don't want to hear this. But Cass is about to be the best heel in wrestling.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to disagree. And I know we'll wait for Mike to come back.
Mike's more upset that it didn't happen when we were there in Scranton because when you rewatch Seth Rollins breaking up the Shield.
Yeah, I've done
that. And there's that. Oh, haven't we all? But there's that guy that when Seth is winding up with the chair to hit Roman, you hear that guy yell, "No!" Mike was more upset that it didn't happen in Scranton because he wanted to be the guy that yelled "no" as Big Cass was big booting Enzo's head off.
Yeah, we'll definitely get more into that when Alec and Mike are back next week because I know they'll definitely have a big opinion being the bigger Enzo and Cass fans. It hurts because I really thought that they were going to be a tag team that could really main event Raw for a long time coming, but our next topic is one that makes me want to vomit. It makes me want to jump in front of traffic. It makes me want to do all sorts of horrible things. The Pittsburgh Penguins win the Stanley Cup. They go back-to-back. I'm going to ask this question. I kind of, just to have the topic, we'll definitely talk about the NHL draft and the expansion draft next week. But I'm going to ask this question. And you might be surprised by my answer when it comes around, but does this make the Pittsburgh Penguins a dynasty? Does this solidify them as maybe one of, if not the best team of this decade?
Of this decade, I'd say, yeah. Yeah, I'd say it. I mean, 3 cups with Crosby. I mean, with the way the East is shaping up, they could win 1 or 2 more. I hate to say because I can't stand them, but
yeah,
I mean,
I'm in the same.
And you look at their AHL team. Their AHL team has been consistently in the Calder Cup playoffs, and they have some good guys down there too. So it's kind of. I mean, like I said, I don't know, all the ins and outs of their fourth liners and whatever. Obviously, Alec would be you and Alec would be much better on that. But it almost reminds me in baseball where they win the World Series and then they still have like what's his name, the catcher, Contreras, Almora.
Yeah.
They were able to trade Gleyber Torres. Like, it reminds me of that. Like, it's a rich get richer situation with their young players. So.
Yeah, I mean, this really it hurts my soul. But look, I try to be, and I mean, as one sided as I can be with Philadelphia, and as much as I try to justify their actions, I can't.
Trust the process.
Yeah, I can't. We'll get to that. Trust me. I can't deny that. As much as I hate him, as much as I don't like him, Sidney Crosby's he's the best player in hockey. There's no question about it. And
he's finally, like, I've realized in his stats, like, he's kind of like, I mean, it's coming later, but he's kind of taking that leap that we kind of saw LeBron take in Miami.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
That's what Crosby looks like.
He went from being that guy who could completely dominate a game, not like he can't, but now he's more concerned with getting other guys involved. And when he's done that, you see just how deep that roster is and how many guys can kill an opposing team. And look, I mean, you can't fault them for how they've built that roster. You have Crosby and you have Malkin, two guys they drafted. They've done everything possible to stay within the cap and yet still add quality talent. And that quality talent has gotten them back-to-back cups. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be vomiting when they come to the Wells Fargo Center and I have to hear back-to-back in 1975 chants. But, I mean, look, they've done a great job in keeping that roster together. And in hockey – hockey's not one of those sports where a lot of big blockbuster moves are made, although actually the last couple hours, the last day has been pretty wild. But they've done that management over in Pittsburgh as a hockey fan, not as a Flyers fan. As a hockey fan, I'll tip my cap. As a Flyers fan, I'll flip the finger. But we'll move on.
Mr. Met.
Oh, jeez. Whatever came of that? Like – was
a T-shirt. That's what came of it. My T-shirt's in the mail.
So we're going to move on to the biggest topic there is, a topic that has gotten me very excited, a topic that has swayed Mr. Schaefer from a New York team to a Philadelphia team. He won't deny it. I felt like a kid on Christmas yesterday. Like, you wake up and you're just so filled with joy. The Sixers trade for the number 1 pick. They have the number 1 pick back-to-back years. They get Markelle Fultz. Lewis, I'm going to ask you, right? We'll get more in depth, but right off the bat, I want to know. Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, Dario Saric, Joel the Process Embiid. Does that core 4 right there carry the Sixers to the playoffs this upcoming season?
If they all stay healthy, absolutely. Considering a team with Paul George and a bunch of scrubs can make the playoffs, you got four, eventual all-stars. I mean, then again, like, when I was a Knicks fan, like, D Rose, Courtney Lee, Melo, Porzingis, and Noah will at least get the 8th seed, and we picked 8. So, the irony there. But I think, we'll make the playoffs this year, at least as an 8 seed.
I'm gonna just throw the timeout on that right now. Louis Schaefer has equated the pronoun "we" with Philadelphia, and all is good in the world.
Trust the process.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, leading up to this, I was really concerned with Brian Colangelo because his track record as a GM has been very shaky, and they got rid of they got rid of Sam Hinkie, and that was like the Romans putting Jesus to death. That was just not right. It was just not fair. It was unjustifiable. So, he comes in and, the story by now. They took Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons sits out the year. Dario Saric comes over when nobody thought he was going to come over, played fantastic. JoJo in the 22, 23 games he played.
31.
Okay. He gave you a glimpse that this guy could probably be one of, if not the best young center in the game. But now you're going into it. Ben Simmons, he's healthy. He's cleared. Colangelo then swings for the fences, gets that number 1 pick, gets Markelle Fultz. They now have positioned themselves to have 4 superstars with The Rock, Robert Covington, Rocco. And the other thing, too, that when I think about the Sixers that really gets me is they still have a ton of cap space.
Yep.
And NBA free agency is coming up now. I don't want to throw out the notions that the Sixers are going to go sign like Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, Paul George, and just roll out this mega super team. But they have cap space where they can, look, the presumable starting lineup is probably going to be Fultz, Rocco, Simmons, Sarge, and Embiid. They now have the cap space to go out and grab a bunch of veteran shooters and guys who can play defense. Is there anybody – I know we'll get into NBA free agency more in the coming weeks, but is there anybody, if you're the Sixers, you immediately want on this team? No questions asked.
I mean, well, it would be nice to say James Harden. That's not happening.
Oh, man. Oh, wait a minute. I'm just thinking about it now. I'm going to fire up 2K and get James Harden on that team. That's a 70-win team. Screw you, Golden State.
But, I mean, I think about it, and the one name that comes to mind that's going to be available this offseason, and Mike Wilbon kept talking about it during the draft, my vets. Well, the Sixers do need to sign some vets. Gerald Henderson's on the bench.
Rashawn Holmes, Nicky Sauce.
Well, yeah, but they're young. They're young.
Yeah,
but
it's a very young team. That's the thing.
They do. They need to sign some guys that at least, like, even if they're not going to play, like, sign, Jordan Hill. Like, he's not going to play because, between Embiid, if Okafor's still on the team, and then if I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, the
20th pick, 20-something pick, from Latvia. So there you go. All my team, like my former team, has a Latvian 7-footer, and now my new team has a Latvian 7-footer. So things stay the same. But like someone like Jordan Hill, like you're not going to play. You're just going to like help kind of mentor and beat, you know. And the same thing with like, Caron Butler or something like he's not going to play, but just like so that way like Simmons and Fultz and Embiid have someone to watch in practice, and see how they practice, see how a guy who's been there a while does it.
There's actually
but as far as one that I would say I want them to sign to help the team, JJ Redick. I think he would be the perfect pickup for the Sixers. He would prove as a vet presence for Sauce. But
deadly three-point shooter.
Deadly three-point shooter. Literally can sit in the corner with the amount of ball handlers you have, or we have.
Yep. I'm so proud.
I know. You helped do this. You and Tim.
Let the record show you hated me for this process, and I got texts from Lewis, shut up. Like Chandler.
It wasn't even like you weren't on board with the process when I first met you as much as it was tank for Wiggins. So that's what it was.
At first it was like you're intentionally trying to lose. I really love basketball, and I really love the Sixers, so it's like, well, at first I was kind of uneasy about it, but then when you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel and you think, at the time I was like, yeah, we could get Andrew Wiggins, oh my God. And then, maybe you position yourself to get more and more and more.
Yeah.
But you were so dead set against it, and no, this is stupid. But, finally we converted you.
Yeah.
I like
just real quick, I would say JJ Redick, he's perfect. Can sit in the corner, hit threes. He fits that 2-hole spot. Sauce was shaky in spots. JJ Redick, if he get the ball in his hands with space, he's going to make it. He's, rarely do you get a consistent 3-point shooter, and he is one of them. I would definitely bring him in, yeah, if you can trot out a lineup every night of Fultz, Reddick, Covington, Simmons, and Embiid with Sarge as the sixth man, that is, like I said, they're at least an 8 seed now. I mean, you may start working towards, if they fill out the bench properly with some vets that can help mentor the young guys. I think you're looking at a team that, they might even, because who's in the East? You got Cleveland, Boston,
Toronto,
but
I'll give him
Lowry
it with Larry.
Yeah,
Indiana's a big what if with
Indiana and Toronto are big what ifs. Atlanta.
So
they
lost Dwight, so
they lost Dwight. They could lose Millsap.
I would say Charlotte maybe takes a bump up.
Charlotte takes a slight bump up, but how good has Dwight been the last couple of years? If they fill out the roster properly, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but you could see, maybe as a 4 seed, a playoff series where the Sixers have home court advantage.
Yeah, the JJ Redick signing I would be all for. The only problem is I would hope that he would be willing to take more of a team friendly deal. And the only reason I say that is
not, you have so much cap room that it's
but I don't want to give a ton of cap to a 33-year-old guy.
no one's going to max him out, but it's a matter of.
I just think
if say Boston, who was in the Eastern Conference Finals, or Houston or something, offering him, $10 million, the Sixers have the cap room to step up and say, hey, 12, 13, we want you.
There's actually one guy I'm really keen on, and he brings a winning attitude. He's also Australian, and he's worked with Brett Brown. I would love if the Sixers got Patty Mills as their backup point guard to Fultz. I think he brings a great veteran winning leadership. He's somebody who could be a great shooter off the bench. He's a great distributor as well, great court vision. But he's also a guy that could work one-on-one with Markelle Fultz behind the scenes in practice. If Markelle Fultz is going to take that leap, you want him to be surrounded with guys who make him better and who can mentor him and teach him. And I think Brett Brown does that, but the players got to do that as well. And one guy I would love is Patty Mills. And I think another guy, it comes from the Spurs as well, I know he's been floated in trade talks, is Danny Green. And that's another guy who, if the Sixers pulled off some kind of trade or whatever, another guy you're talking about who fits the two perfectly, could even play the 3. And is a very consistent three-point shooter. So, the sky's the limit for them in terms of what they're going to be able to do. But real quick, last thing I want to talk about the Sixers. This idea was not mine, so I will not be shot for it. Joe DiCamara on 94.1 WIP suggested this. 2018. I'm going to give you the background of it. You're going to know exactly where I'm going with it. The Cavs just fired their general manager. It's all but certain. LeBron won them their championship. I think that team is ready to implode. Sixers take a leap this year. Let's for the scenario, as he pointed out, Embiid, Simmons, Sarge, Fultz, they stay healthy. They make to the playoffs, maybe even win a round. Mm-hmm. Next offseason comes around. LeBron opts out. Sixers call him up. Hey, he'll be 34. We have Markelle Fultz, we have Ben Simmons, we have Dario, we have Embiid. These are 4 guys who, in their own right, could put up 20 a game, who are young, who are eager to win. You sign on here for the twilight of career. It allows you to put yourself on a young team. It allows you to kind of do your thing, be the leader, be the mentor, but you don't have to do too much where you don't have to put the entire team on your shoulders because you've got 4 other guys and you've got a stable bench. Do you think the Sixers could present enough of a case next offseason if all does go well? I'm not saying they have to make it to the NBA Finals, but if all goes well, could the Sixers next offseason present a strong enough case? And And remember, too, Joel Embiid's got to unblock him from Twitter.
Yes.
But do the Sixers
did
present?
Did he block him or did he block Embiid?
Oh, no. JoJo blocked him.
Okay.
Do the Sixers present enough of a case for LeBron James to finish out his career in Philadelphia and put a lineup? I'm gonna draw this lineup up for you now. Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, LeBron James, Dario Saric, and Joel Embiid. Yeah, let's see who the Timberwolves are trading for now. Go get Paul George and Chris Paul.
See, like, if he gets whooped by the Warriors again next year, I would say it's a possibility. I mean, if you're looking at a situation where the Sixers, I mean, granted, everybody knows the All-Star game is a popularity contest, but, you know, with that, everybody's going to kind of be watching the Sixers to see how the process, you know, how the fruits of the process kind of unfold.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of eyes are going to be on Embiid. He should have been in the All-Star game this year. Fuck Paul Millsap. You know, Ben Simmons, you know, everybody keeps, you know, saying, oh, after last night and the way he kind of fits their offense, Lonzo Ball for Rookie of the Year. People forget that Ben Simmons is a rookie because he didn't play.
Yep. Him and Markelle Fultz. You know, let me stop you right there. I think it's going to be really interesting because I think it presents a situation where Fulton and Simmons are going to compete within each other, and they're going to push each other because, yo, I want to win Rookie of the Year. Well, no, I want to win Rookie of the Year. All right, well, let's go play our asses off. May the best man win.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when you have, after he gets picked, JoJo and JoJo and Ben Simmons subtweeting Lonzo Ball. So
no, that was fantastic.
That was the highlight of last night. If he's the competition for the context, they're going to be gunning for him.
For the context, paraphrasing, LeVar Ball basically claimed that Lonzo was going to single-handedly take the Lakers to the NBA Finals, to which Ben Simmons tweeted crazy pills. Joel Embiid quotes said tweet from Ben Simmons and says, bro, you need to dunk on him, and so his daddy got to run on the court and save him.
To make sure he's okay.
That was beautiful, and that is why that was amazing. But
Sixers Twitter is by far the best Twitter. Between like the analysts and the players. And
Joel Embiid single-handedly could run Twitter for all four teams, and I think he'd make it. He could be. I mean, after the tweets from before the draft of, hey, we don't care about exit meetings. You can come here. Like, come on over, Kristaps.
He can be a GM by himself, just tweeting at people.
You know, when I thought about, and I'm listening to that, I thought at first LeBron here would be crazy, but I mean, you think about it, because Alec and I were talking a couple of weeks ago about maybe. You know, LeBron James has played in the finals for 7 straight years. You know, he's 33. The human body can only take so much. If he sees, okay, yo, they've got the 4 guys. They're young. They're hungry. They've got a solid bench behind them. This is where I can sign on. And, yeah, I mean, I'm LeBron James. I'm still the best player in the world, but I don't have to go for 40 a night to carry a team. I can play my game, and I've got 4 guys plus whoever else the Sixers sign and draft that can take the pressure off of me. And I think, look, the bias in me says, yo, if the Sixers prove themselves this year, LeBron would be nuts not to sign on with this team. But, I mean, if he wants to go to L.A. because it's Hollywood, fine, we'll see you in the finals and we'll whoop your ass again. But
yeah, I mean, like you said, I could see it. I mean, if he gets whooped by the Warriors and then the Sixers show that they have something going there, in year one of kind of them all being together, because obviously it's a big what if. I mean, like you said, JoJo played 30 games. Simmons hasn't stepped on the court yet. Fultz is a true rookie as opposed to Simmons being an injured rookie. You know, Saric was only really good once Embiid got hurt. So I'm worried about him too. You know, people aren't worried about him, but for me, it's a question of how does he play when Embiid's there? Because I was thinking was that, you know, when it was him and Sean Long on the court, someone had to get the rebound, and it wasn't Sean Long.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. I mean,
you know, if the Sixers prove they have something going already in year one of it all being together, I could see a situation where, you know, if he's looking to win championships still, then yeah, it may happen. But I do. I mean, the more I look into it, the more and more I'm starting to think, CP takes a 1-year deal with San Antonio, Houston, something, just to hit free agency again. And then, or maybe even the Clippers, just to stay in town and not be the bad guy like KD was. But, sign a 1-year deal so that way they have all the cap space in 2 years. I mean, I think there's a reason they signed Jerry West, and it may be to put together LeBron's banana boat team.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. I actually think that's it. I think he's done in Cleveland because I think he was all reports have indicated he was really close with their GM.
With Griffin,
yeah, with Griffin.
And he still hates Gilbert from the letter.
So. Yeah, from the letter. So I think the writing's on the wall. I mean, look, he set out in the beginning to win a championship with Cleveland. It didn't work. Went to Miami, got his rings, check. Comes back, ultimately, we know the Cinderella story. They come back from down 3-1, wins Cleveland the championship like he promised.
Check.
So now that he's done that, I really think
he's playing for himself now.
He's playing for himself. He's playing for the money, the fame, whatever. And I think there is a couple of weeks ago, I thought there was like a 20% chance of him leaving. I think now that skyrockets for me to about 80%. And I think when that happens,
I'd say about 75, 80%.
Yeah, and I think when that happens, Kevin Love's done. Kyrie gets traded. That team just starts from the bottom again. So moving on, who to you, whether it was a draft pick or a trade, who made the best move draft night and positioned themselves to take that step forward?
This, for the new Sixers fan, this one's going to be funny. But I'm going to say the Kings. I mean, aside from the Sixers, I mean, the Sixers got
we'll agree.
The finishing piece to the process in Fultz. But I really like what the Kings did. I mean, you look at it, their team going into that draft was a bunch of draft picks on Buddy Hield. They picked De'Aaron Fox, who, is quick as all hell, smart, could end up being a steal. I mean, considering Boston didn't take him, Phoenix didn't take him, LA didn't take him. I think he may be the second best point guard out of this class behind Fultz. And to get him 5 was a steal. And then, they flip that Pelicans pick into 2 of Portland's 3 picks and then end up with Justin Jackson from North Carolina and Harry Giles from Duke. Giles, if he's healthy, is going to be a nice player. He was a highly touted prospect before tearing his ACL at the end of his high school career and not really getting to showcase anything at Duke. I mean, and it reminds me of a player they have on their roster right now in Scalabissiere. I mean, he wasn't hurt. He was just bad at Kentucky. He didn't fit their system. He went there because it was Kentucky. And went late. And once Boogie was traded, he really got to play, and he looked good. So I really like, the pick swap wasn't the best move. Thank you for that.
Yep.
But, I give Vlade shit, but, they're rocking a starting 5 if they want to next year of Fox, Hield, Jackson, Giles, and Cauley-Stein or the Bissier.
Not too shabby.
It's not a contender in the West, but it's not too shabby, especially when, you're going to have, eventually Golden State's going to drop off. Eventually the Spurs are going to drop off. They're positioning themselves for that right time. I think, them, the Lakers, and now Minnesota are set up. Eventually they're going to be those top 3 teams.
Yeah.
As opposed to it being, Houston, San Antonio, Golden State, as it is now.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned one of the teams that I thought, easy to say was the Wolves. I mean, this was a team that, they got Andrew Wiggins. They had Zach LaVine. They had a lot of really nice pieces, but then they really hit it with Karl Anthony Towns, who I think, unfortunately, Embiid has only played so many games, so I can't really give him the best young center title yet. I have to give it to Karl Anthony Towns because he showed it for the longer period of time. But now it's, and Ricky Rubio has really kind of transitioned himself into a solid point guard. I mean, he's not Steph Curry, he's not Kyrie Irving, but he's a point guard who can get the job done. He gets the ball to his teammates. He plays fantastic defense. So, the Wolves go into it. We have Wiggins, we have Towns, we have a nice point guard in Rubio. Let's cash this in. Let's get Jimmy Butler, who's arguably one of the top 6, 7, 8 players in the league. They now, with Rubio, Butler, Wiggins, and Towns, like the Sixers, have 4 guys who can kill you in so many ways. And they already have, I think, an underrated bench. A lot of guys who can do a lot of different things, and they have a plethora of cap space. So if there's any team for me that's going to really skyrocket, they're not going to challenge the Warriors by any means. This isn't a team that's going to make the Western Conference Finals right off the bat. This is a team that can get to the playoffs, definitely, and I think they could steal a series. But this is a team now that has really positioned themselves to land maybe another superstar down the road and really, transcend into the upper echelon, like with the Lakers, the Kings. I think Minnesota – I tweeted it the other day, and we talked about it before we went live. 2019 NBA Finals, Wolves, Sixers. Sixers and 7.
And when you look at it, they absolutely fleeced Chicago.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Tom Thibodeau made them look like a fool. Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, and they swapped first-round picks for Jimmy Butler. LaVine's coming off the ACL tear that had shortened his season.
He's a good player. I mean, he's not Jimmy Butler, but
he's not Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler was also a 30th overall pick, second round pick. So, granted, Thibodeau developed him. So
he comes back into Thibodeau's.
He comes
system.
back to Thibodeau. Granted, if there's any training staff, thanks to D Rose, that's equipped to deal with a torn ACL, Chicago is the one. But his game, very similar to Rose, very predicated on his athleticism and his ability to attack the rim. It hasn't really shown me anything on defense yet. It was not just one of his big struggles, one of the biggest struggles for the Wolves in general last year, which is why Butler's a huge upgrade. He's a two-way star. LaVine, I have some question marks around.
Mm-hmm.
Dunn, he was awful last year. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Tyus Jones took a big step up last season. I think it's which worries me a bit about Fultz this year with, point guard to me is kind of like catcher in Major League Baseball when you call up a prospect and they don't really hit right away because they're figuring out how to run the pitching staff. I think, point guards go through a similar thing coming into the NBA. Obviously, the better ones have smoother transitions. You look at Lillard, you look at,
and they're their own talent.
Paul, there's been other guys that are on another level and come in right away and have an impact. And I think Fultz, and while we're on it, Ball and Fox are on that level. So we'll see with Dunn. If he can kind of take that next step up, or if switching teams and switching playbooks screws him up again. And then they used the 7th pick on ESPN was calling him the finisher because he's Finnish. Lauri Markkanen. I hate that pick. He's a stretch 4. You have Mirotic, you have Bobby Portis.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me.
It was best player available, but they didn't need it. Granted, you're not going to take a point guard after the trade you just made involved Chris Dunn. In my opinion, at least, Minnesota got the better draft pick out of this too with Justin Patton.
Yeah.
You look. He's a center. Kind of just his tape in college really reminds me of when I would force myself to watch Knicks games 2 years ago with Robin Lopez, 10 points a game, 15 rebounds. And the 10 points are 5 putback dunks. That's what Justin Patton's game reminds me of. And when you think about it, he doesn't have to score. If anything, this enables Cat to use his three-point shot more because Pat will get rebounds for him.
The Wolves are deep.
They got a better draft pick than the freaking Bulls, and the Bulls are picking 7, the Timberwolves are picking 16 because of the trade. Yeah. Every asset, they fleeced the Chicago Bulls.
And this kind of opens up to my next question. Well, what's up with Danny Ainge? Like every rumor, every rumor with George, with Kevin Love, with Jimmy Butler, with Russell Westbrook, I don't even know, has been linked to the Boston Celtics, but he gets cold feet. I mean, do you think that there's a silver lining? Maybe they get a deal done, or they go max out like Blake and Gordon Hayward. I mean, what's up with Boston? I mean, I guess that's the question I'm asking. Like, is there a silver lining for them? Can they get Isaiah some help, and can they dethrone the Cavs as the team in the East? Because look, they're another team. They have a gluttony of assets. They have pretty ample cap space. I mean, you have Isaiah Thomas, who I would argue was one of the biggest breakout players last year, really transcended himself into the conversation in the top 5 point guards in the league at least. Do you think there's a silver lining where maybe they trade for Paul George later on and land maybe 1 or 2 other stars to go with him? Or is Danny Ainge just screwing the Celtics out of competing?
I mean, he is. He's really screwing them out of competing right now, which sucks. I mean, when they had that first pick before sending it to the Sixers, I was all on board. Take Fultz. Because pick next year Michael Porter and start working on that young core.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is
to compete post LeBron and compete with the Sixers and compete with, the Lakers and whoever else is the Wolves.
Markelle Fultz can play the 2. I mean, that's what I thought too. Was
that's what I was on board with at the time. You gave away Markelle Fultz. You got Jason Tatum, which granted, he gives them a jump shooter that they did not. They suffered badly because they didn't have someone who can, kind of just get himself open and knock down a shot. But it seems like every freaking time. I mean, granted, Danny Ainge traded shit for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen to get them in 2008. But now, he won't even trade Jay Crowder to get Paul George or to get Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
And, granted, I like Jay Crowder. I like his game, but he's no Paul George.
Right.
And the thing that confuses me is that, how many assets are you going for? You now have the Lakers pick, unless it's as long as it's between, 2 and 5 or 2 and 6, they have the Lakers.
I think 1 and 6.
It's not if it's not 1. If it's 1,
oh, that's right, because the Sixers get it. It's 2 and 6.
Yeah, it's 2 and 6.
I know there's a 6 in there somewhere.
Which, I mean, granted, with the addition of Brook Lopez and the addition of Lonzo Ball, I mean, either it's between 2 and 6 or later. Maybe end of the lottery.
They'll be a little bit better. Yeah.
They'll be a little bit better. They still have the Nets pick. They have a Grizzlies pick because of Jeff Green down the road at some point. I think they have a Mavericks pick.
Their own picks, I think, too.
They have so many picks. Cash them in.
Yeah, I mean, look.
I get it. Your picks may not hold that much value to another team because, granted, if I'm Indiana, I'm not trading for your picks if I'm trading you Paul George.
Right.
I want someone else's picks. I want the Lakers picks. I want the Nets picks.
Yeah, it's just.
But
it's one of those...
there comes a point where they have to just say, listen, Isaiah Thomas and a bunch of seventh men aren't winning us anything. It got us knocked out in 5 games last year. Let's do something. And I think they're going to sign Gordon Hayward. I think they reunite him with Brad Stevens. But, at least Utah had, Rudy, strong defensive center, will get you 10, 15 points a game. George Hill, veteran point guard. Not Isaiah, but veteran point guard. And they got knocked out in 4 games. by the Warriors.
Yep.
Getting Gordon Hayward does not put you over the Cavs for me. If you get both of them, if you get George and Hayward, then we can talk. But right now, like if they're just banking on, listen, we're gonna roll out a lineup of Thomas, Bradley, Tatum, Hayward, Horford. I don't have that beating Cleveland.
No, and it's one of those things where I look at it and it's like, look, I got to give – I'm relating it to the Sixers. I got to give Brian Colangelo a ton of credit because they could have stayed at 3 and gotten a decent player, Tatum or Jackson. But did they really fit? I mean, we'll never know. But there had to come a point in time where the Sixers made the ultimate decision. Look, you freed up so much freaking cap space. You have all these picks that Sam Hinkie fleeced from other GMs because he's just a mad genius and was crucified for being one. Finally they said, look, enough is enough. We're going to cash this in. We're going to give up a couple picks. We're going to get who we believe is the best player in the draft, and I think many believe is the best player in the draft. I just don't understand. I mean, look, you have a decent core in Boston. It's they got to the playoffs, and it's not a roster that I thought was full of superstars. It was a roster that really knew how to get the job done when they needed to. There has to come a point in time, like you said, let's cash this in. Let's get Gordon Hayward. Let's go get Paul George. Now you're looking at a lineup of, my God, Isaiah, Paul George, Gordon Hayward, Horford, Olynyk, whatever. Bradley. I would maybe think that if you got Paul George in a trade, I think they probably would have to give up Avery Bradley. But you go from just kind of an okay roster that gets the job done to now a team that, they got one of the transcending point guards in the league, and now you throw him in with one of the top 5 superstars in the game and another guy who is a star in his own name. I mean, like, come on. Like, you don't want to give up Jay Crowder and a couple picks for Paul George and then max out
Gordon to get another championship.
I mean, man, like, I don't know. Danny Ainge, man, he's really hurting the Celtics.
He's never been good. I mean, look at his draft record. Like I said, he was able to get KG and Ray Allen because they wanted to play with Paul Pierce. He did nothing. He just, offered the trade. And Minnesota and Seattle at the time knew they wanted to go to Boston, so they did it.
Yep.
Danny Ainge hasn't really done anything. Aside from fleecing the Nets however many years ago. He has not done anything.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's – I think overall in basketball, and this isn't a bias, I just think given the history of the players, I think the 3 biggest markets in basketball have to be Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and Boston.
Yeah.
The Sixers and the Lakers did all they could to kind of, Magic is ready to win now. Let's forget about the couple of years that we were down. He gets Alonzo. He gets Brook Lopez. He still, I think, could still pull a move. Maybe he goes after Paul George because Magic wants to win. Like, I mean, for a storied franchise and a franchise with as many championships and history as the Celtics, I would think that Danny Ainge would be willing to throw all the assets in and create his own super team, a team that could go toe-to-toe with the Warriors and dethrone the Cavs and force LeBron out of Cleveland, so that the Celtics could once again become the beast of the East. If you have any other thoughts, throw them in. Otherwise, one thing I really, if there's going to be a venting tonight, the Philadelphia Phillies, I've joked that
real quick on before you jump to the Phillies.
Sure.
Real quick. I just want to throw this in, I have been no stranger to talking shit on the Ball family over the course of the last 6 months.
Yeah. I think that goes for all of us on the show.
I mean, everybody in America has been talking shit on the Ball family. But after what I read today, I still hate LeVar. Don't get me wrong. But the reason, supposedly, the reason he did it, I'm okay with now. Supposedly, Lonzo's mom had a stroke during the UCLA season. which is why he wanted to stay in Los Angeles and play for the Lakers. But to cover it up, because he didn't want it getting out that his mom, had a stroke and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
LeVar came out and started becoming LeVar Ball and saying, "Oh, my son's going to play for the Lakers."
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to speak it into existence. Like it was to cover it up because they didn't want a reporter asking Lonzo, why do you want to play for the Lakers? Oh, well, I'll tell you. They didn't want to be put in that situation.
Right.
So with that in mind, like respect to Lonzo for like wanting to stay home, to like take care of his mom, whatever.
I just got breaking news that the Flyers have traded Braden Shen to the St. Louis Blues. They've traded him to the St. Louis Blues for the 27th pick, as well as Yuri Laterra and a 2018 first-round pick. So nice. I have to believe, not to just throw a curveball out of nowhere, I have to believe that Braden Shen's trade was in correlation to this Flyers number 2 overall pick, Nolan Patrick, who's a center. Braden Shen was the Flyers second-line center, so I guess they get some value. We'll have to reconvene in the week and look that up. But anyway, to get back to that,
I mean, like, respect to Lonzo for like knowing what he wanted to do and getting it out there that he wanted to play for the Lakers without seeming like a huge dick and saying like, "Oh yeah," like imagine if it were him saying like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to play for anybody but the Lakers," which again was the situation he was in, but it wasn't him saying it; it was his obnoxious dad. But at the end of the day, he's drafted. He's a Laker. LeVar, shut up.
The thing for me is I've had no disrespect on Lonzo Ball. I think the kid's immensely talented. I think he's going to be, when we look back 10 years from now in this draft class, I think he's definitely going to be an all-star. I think he definitely has the chance to win multiple championships with the Lakers. It's just, like you said, it's his dad who is obnoxious, who makes really controversial comments. And it's kind of a shame because I tweeted this out the other day. The media for the duration of Lonzo Ball's career is only going to focus on LeVar Ball.
Yep.
And, like Lonzo's going to drop 50 and LeVar Ball is going to go and say that Lonzo could take on Michael Jordan in his prime. And, you're going to take away from Lonzo's performance because of what LeVar says. And that's what kind of hurts because, I want to root for Lonzo. I really do. I mean, you and Alec know my second favorite team is the Lakers because of Kobe Bryant. And, I'll root for the Lakers. Most Sixers fans won't, but I'll root for him. And it's troublesome because anytime Lonzo does something, it's going to be a domino effect of what did LeVar Ball say? What did LeVar Ball follow up with it? And I think that's just a shame to his career and him because, like I said, I'm not blaming Lonzo for it. It's clearly LeVar who needs to just stop.
Yeah, well, I was talking about this at my job, and I think the more I think about it, the more I start to think that LaMelo is like the crown jewel of this whole thing, the youngest one. The triple Bs. LiAngelo is shit. Like honestly, I've looked into like his high school tape. Obviously, he's going to UCLA next year. His numbers and his statistics have been, over the course of his 4 years in high school. His freshman and sophomore year, he was teammates with Lonzo.
Mm-hmm.
Or freshman, sophomore, and junior year, he was teammates with Lonzo. And then senior year, he was teammates with LaMelo. His numbers and his statistics are a product of, listen, we got to guard this guy. He's torching us. And then who are they going to pass to? They're going to pass to their brother before they pass to any of their other teammates. So a lot of his stats are based off of that. So LiAngelo is shit. I mean, granted, we'll see when he gets to UCLA, but I don't foresee anything massive like Lonzo could be. But I think Lonzo was to get their name out there so that way LiAngelo has enough of a push behind him to actually be drafted instead of playing in Europe in 2 years.
Yeah.
But I think LaMelo is the crown jewel. And, when we start to look at it, I mean, 3 years down the road, we're looking at, maybe 2 years of dealing with LeVar in terms of Lonzo. And then, in my opinion, you start to look at it, and he's going to care more about LaMelo, and LaMelo going to UCLA, and LaMelo, he has a decent game. He doesn't really play defense. But producing at UCLA the way Lonzo did, and I think that LaMelo's the crown jewel to this whole thing. So once the focus has to shift to him, like Lonzo will be 23, 24 years old. Like at some point, like over the course of 3 or 4 years, like it's going to eventually – you would have to think that – I mean, granted, if he wanted to play in L.A. because of his mom, like he's clearly family-oriented. But you got to think at some point, like, Dad, I'm worth more than you ever were. I'm worth more than this brand is. Shut up. I'm done with it.
One could only
I'm
hope,
going.
right?
I'm going to get Lonzo Nikes. Like I'm selling out tonight.
So yeah, we'll move on. The last thing I kind of want to rant about is the Phillies. I've joked about all 4 teams kind of having their own process, and I don't want to get into the whole background story of the Phillies. We all know they won their championship. They ever since have regressed. Ruben Amaro gutted the farm system. They've done a nice job in rebuilding it. With that being said, this team's a joke. This team, you know what? I don't even think a joke does its service enough to explain how despicable they are. I mean, the other night I'm with our good friend Aaron down at the Phillies game. I wasn't there for the Phillies. I was there because it was Star Wars night. I don't understand for the life of me why players go down with injury and they continue to neglect the bigger name prospects and calling them up.
Yeah.
I hadn't been to a game until Wednesday in about a year and a half. And I can remember, one, how hard it was to get tickets to Phillies games, which is now going to happen to the Sixers. I can remember how filled CBP was, the buzz. It's dead. Nobody cares. By the 6th, 7th inning, everybody's gone because they know that the Phillies bullpen's inevitably going to blow a lead, which they blew a 5-0 lead, and I still don't understand. It's almost like a conspiracy theory that they're just handing teams wins. I don't understand why they just don't call these players up now. Let them play the rest of the season, see what they got, reevaluate yourself in the winter. You're only hurting. I feel like we've seen enough of them in AAA and AA to know, okay, Reese Hoskins, Dylan Cousins, Nick Williams, Alfaro, et cetera, can hit. All right, they're hitting in AAA. I don't really believe that there's much of a difference between AAA as there is in the MLB. Call them up. See what they've got. I mean, come on. Look, the Sixers are going to start filling seats again. The Flyers are, believe it or not, probably the most consistent team there is in terms of making it to the playoffs and filling the seats. And then you've got the Eagles, who are the crown jewel of the town, the talk of the town. It's time to put some butts back in the seats. It's time to get people excited again. Call these kids up. What is the plan? It doesn't seem like there's a plan. I mean, Michael Saunders was a guy I thought, hey, he could come in and contribute. His ass is down in AAA because his batting average is like
I think he's gone. I think he got cut.
Okay, then he got cut. I mean, that's just poor. Howie Kendrick, he probably can get you, I don't know, maybe a low-level arm just to shed the salary cap and get another prospect. But they need – I don't understand what their plan is right now. I mean, are they just hoping and praying that in 2018 they can land Machado, Harper, and then trade for Trout and call themselves a super team? I mean, because it's like, look, just call these kids up. I don't know how many more times I can say it. Call them up, see what they've got. Bring some excitement back to this team. I mean, this is the only team – oh, man, this is the only team in 25 years that has won a championship. I mean – and I can remember everybody thought for a while the Phillies could dethrone the Eagles as the crown jewel of the town. I mean, the thought was they're going to win in 08, they won in 09, 2010, 2011, 2012. They'll just keep going and going and going and going until the wheels fell off. Obviously, the complete opposite happened. They won and they regressed so badly, then the wheels fell off, and here we are. They need to get something going because I think the new statistic was they're on pace for like 112, 113 losses, which would be only like second or third worst ever. I mean, that's just pathetic. They got to get something going. I mean, I know you're a Mets fan, but what do you think? I mean, do you think that they're justified in not rushing these guys, or do you think it's time to trust the process and call your assets up and see what they got?
I think – see, this is actually a good point because, I mean, the Mets are in a similar spot. I mean, the Mets have not by any means performed to the expectations that the fans have this year. And obviously with Neil Walker being hurt, Asdrubal Cabrera being a huge dickhead and requesting a trade to the media today. Reyes hasn't really hit major league pitching since Toronto. Hit his wife. He can't hit major league pitching.
Ooh.
I don't promote domestic violence, just saying that now. I know but the theme has been, with guys like Ahmed Rosario, Dom Smith, the theme has been, when we call them up, we want them to be up. And, we don't want it to be, unless they struggle, we don't want it to be a situation where we call them up for a week, 2 weeks while someone's in the DL and then send them back down to Vegas. Like when they're up, we want them up. And I think the Phillies are in a similar situation in terms of you have vets on the team that, while have not performed in the red pinstripes, have kind of, hardened their, become not all-stars, but quality players in their time. You look, Howie Kendrick, Freddie Galvis, Cam Rupp. They've been not fantastic, but they've been good players. And deserve the opportunity to play out and try to better their situation in terms of the team that they may be on. You look at a guy like you said, like Kendrick, I threw in Galvis, Rupp to an extent. Like if they start to hit, trade them while they're hot, you can get something for them, and then you call up Williams, you call up Alfaro, you call up Crawford. You can include Hellickson in that too. If he gets hot, call him up, or trade him out and call someone up from the Iron Pigs. I think that's the thing with the Phillies, is that they have these veteran guys that have, are grizzled vets and deserve their playing time and don't necessarily, should not be put in a situation on a rebuilding team that Carl Crawford was in with the Dodgers. I mean, if the Dodgers were rebuilding, they probably let Carl Crawford play, and try to get him to a spot where, he can contribute to a winner. Obviously the Dodgers last year were competing. They're even better now. And they just cut him. And they're paying him not to be on the team. But, someone like Kendrick deserves the benefit of the doubt with what he's been able to do in his career with the various teams that he's been with to, find his swing and allow you guys to trade him, for, a double-A arm that could make it, or a triple-A arm that could make an impact at the major league level if Howie Kendrick gets hot, as opposed to trading him now, which you'd probably get a single-A arm that, may get called up if, your standard, like, sixth-inning guy, when it all goes to hell in a handbasket, gets hurt. And otherwise would just be, kind of a minor league journeyman. So, a guy like Kendrick, like I said, a guy like Galvis, Hellickson, like I said, Rupp's, 28, 29, but even he could be expendable to a team that could use a catcher. Let them get hot. Let them get hot and trade them. And then when the spot is open from that point until the end of September, then you call them. Don't make it a situation where, you have Odubel, you have Kendrick, you have Altair, you have, I'm not even sure who your guys' fourth outfielder is now with Saunders gone. And then you call it Cam Perkins.
Yeah.
Well, he's a prospect though, right? but
Yeah,
not like
but
a
he's got the everyday. I
high-profile
think
one.
he's got the everyday. Yeah, he's not the Dylan Cousins or Nick Williams.
Yeah. You know, you don't want to call up Cousins and Williams now and try to find a place to play them. Even if you call them up, then you got 5 outfielders for 3 spots with Herrera, Altair.
Oh, he's another one. You know, you talk about Asdrubal Cabrera. You know, he's so immensely talented. But the other night, I mean, he clearly gets the stop sign from Juan Samuel, runs through it,
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. He is arguably the stupidest baseball player I think I've ever encountered, and that says a lot. But he has all the talent in the world, and I'm at the point where he struggled mightily, and I know a lot of people made the case that you just got to let him ride it out. And that's one of the things with baseball is you're prone. Everybody struggles in baseball. You're not ever going to hit 1,000 or, you know, if you hit over 350 for the entire season, that's amazing. But, you know, he started to get hot and he just makes dumb plays. I think it's a situation where now you got to put him on the bench. You know, he's got to learn his lesson. I mean, and it hurts him, but it hurts the team as well when he's making stupid decisions. And, you know, look, if he's going to continue to do that, I think you bench him. And then, like you said, I think maybe then that can open up a position where you call up a Williams or a Cousins or start shifting around some guys. But something's got to be done because this is I can't. Wednesday was the first game since April that I watched in its fullest extent because this has been so boring. It's unenthusiastic. It's dreary. I know the outcome. I mean, I knew they were going to lose a 5-0 lead. Again, I was more in tune with the girls that were dressed as Princess Leia for Star Wars night. I mean, but that's just what it is. I mean, they're an awful team. And I don't know. I feel like I have to blame Klentak because he's not calling guys up. But you do make a good case, like, yeah, let these guys get hot and then trade them. But a plan needs to be presented. You know, like the Sixers, we clearly knew they're going to tank. They're going to get picks. They're going to get cap space. You know, the Eagles, their plan was, look, we're going to throw our assets. We're going to get Carson Wentz, and then we're going to build for Carson Wentz. The Flyers, I guess their plan now is let's load up on goal scorers because they've drafted like 3 centers tonight and whatever. Fine, that's their plan. They got to get goal scorers. The Phillies, I don't know what their plan is. Is their plan to build a rotation? Is their plan to build a lineup that is just going to mash the ball every night like a Bronx Bombers type of thing? I mean, you have the ballpark for it. I mean, what is your goal here? What is your plan? I feel like I have nothing answered with this team right now. And this was a team, I mean, when we previewed baseball back in April, I thought, hey, maybe they could be respectable. I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs, but this was a year where you could see, you know, Franco, who has been horribly awful this year. I think whatever. I just I'm running out of words and adjectives to describe.
Yeah,
it. It's been severely disappointing because he was a guy I thought was going to transcend. He's going to be your cornerstone third baseman. He's been dreadful. I mean, he grounds into double plays. Tommy Joseph is like good for a couple hits, and then he's grounding into double plays. You know, Cam Rupp, he's okay. He's decent. I mean, he's not Buster Posey or Yadier Molina. You know, Odubal's making stupid decisions. The rotation can't stay healthy. The bullpen is about as useful as like I can't even. I mean, I really
was Danny Ainge.
Yeah, I really can't even conjure up the words and descriptions to describe how awful this has been. But yeah, I mean, the way that you explain it, I think, look, maybe they need to just let these guys get hot. It's June 23rd. They have a month really until.
Yeah, and if they don't get hot, you cut them or you bench them.
Yeah, or you just ride it out, and then you know we'll finish 40 and 122, and that'll just be most losses ever in a major league season because that's what the Phillies do. Yeah, so that's pretty much gonna wrap up the show for us tonight. If you like what you heard, again, subscribe on our YouTube page, also our Facebook page. Check out our articles, feedmesports.wordpress.com. We're definitely going to have a lot more articles coming up, recapping the NHL draft, the NBA draft. I'm writing a lot about the NFL season, previewing each team. We're definitely going to do that as the months go on. But, Lewis, if you don't have anything to add, I think we did a pretty good job. I think we processed.
Well. We trusted it.
So, yeah, that'll just about do it. So we'll be back on next week. Hopefully we'll have Alec and Mike, Alec, I know, will have a lot to say about his New Jersey Devils. Mike will probably bring a box of tissues because of Enzo and Cass.
I just can't wait to give Alec shit for them not taking a damn defenseman #1 overall. Why would you take a defenseman #1? That's like taking a freaking safety #1. Yeah, they're important, but they're not that important. You need to score, and he wanted a defenseman.
Well, next week's episode will definitely be one you'll want to hear because I'll definitely take the back seat, let Lewis and Alec go at it. So, all right, we'll see you next time.